Okay, welcome to the ComCat training for Berkeley. Um, ComCat is short for the Commonwealth Catalog. We almost never call it the Commonwealth Catalog just because it's kind of a mouthful. We call it ComCat, and it's got a little cute cat mascot. So
Mm.
before I get into my slides, I just thought I would show you what the point of ComCat is, kind of. So I just whipped up this little diagram that kind of shows the hierarchy model we're working with here. So if you're a patron and you want an item, this is kind of the order of operations for where you're going to find that item. So first of all, ideally, Berkeley, has the item that the patron wants, and they can just give it to them, and they can be on their merry way. But that's not always the case, especially if it's more of a niche item. So the second step, the second choice would be to go within the network. So you're in the Flow network now. So pretty soon you'll have access to reshare, which will allow you to do in-network ILL. Um, Patrons will be able to place requests for anything that another Flow library is willing to lend in the shared viewfind. We haven't set that up for you yet, but that will be set up around the same time as ComCat. We're planning on a go live at the end of this month, March 31st. So look forward to that. We will be training you on reshare separately. It's a whole different system. Um, but anyway, if you can't find it within the Flow libraries, the next step would be to look for the item in ComCat. And ComCat is the statewide ILL system. And basically it gives you access to all of, not all, but the majority of libraries in Massachusetts. There are like a handful that don't participate, but it's over 500 libraries, so it's a huge pool to choose from. Um, and then, of course, the last resort is, I guess I would call it normal ILL. It's any other. I don't know what Berkeley is currently using, but most people use OCLC to get stuff outside the rest of these spheres. Um, and yeah, so the reason obviously why you want your home library to be the first choice is because it's immediate. And some of these other options, they might take a little longer, especially if the library is further away. All the Flow libraries are kind of close together, so hopefully the delivery time shouldn't be too bad. But once you get into ComCat, some of those libraries are like in Western Mass, so sometimes it takes a bit. But yeah, this is kind of the point. It's to give you a wider, or give your patrons a wider pool of items to choose from, and it's also to boost your own ILL lending. So, um, Berkeley has a pretty unique collection, so I imagine that you guys will get a bunch of lending requests and be able to share your collection with the state. Um, so yeah, let's get into my training slides here. Um, We do have 2 hours, so hopefully we have plenty of time for questions. Feel free to stop me along the way. Um, okay, so first of all, if you have questions beyond this training, Flow has a ComCat help desk. It's separate from the help desk that you use for like Folio or Viewfind questions. It's just for ComCat questions. Um, and you can find it in multiple places. So we have the link in the slides here.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like a LibAnswers kind of form you're probably familiar with. You can submit your question here. Um, we also have some FAQs here, if you want to see your question has already been answered. You can also use an email to get to this same help desk, which I can send out to you. It's a little bit quicker than using the form, I think. Um, And yeah, I think that's all I had to say about that. Oh, actually, there was one more thing. So the help desk is also directly in ComCat. So I'll just show you where to find that. First of all, this is ComCat, commonwealthcatalog.org. Um, I'm just going to log in because only staff can see it. So there is a tab up here called Help Desk, and you can find that ticket form within ComCat too, just to kind of save you some clicks. There's also more guides and FAQs on the side here. So yeah, multiple ways to access that if you need help. Um, Okay, let's talk about how logging in works. So essentially, important things, whenever a patron logs in for the first time, that is when their account is established in ComCat. It automatically generates an account for them. Um, if their barcode changes, however, they will be recognized as a different patron. So that's kind of one tricky thing about ComCat. I don't think that usually happens with academic libraries as much as often, but it's just something I wanted to warn you about. When you go to the login screen, there's going to be a library drop-down where you're going to pick Berklee as your library. Usually, when you are at the start screen, it's the easiest way to get to things is to just type in your library so that it pops up, because otherwise you're going to be like scrolling forever. So my recommendation is to just start typing Berkeley and you'll pop right up. You can see that there's other Berkeley people, but completely unrelated here. Um, anyway, back to my slides. So Berkeley is set up with Easy Proxy SSO logging in, which means that you can use your single sign-on that all your other systems use for ComCat, which is nice. So not every library does this. So when you log in and you have this set up, you get this pop-up that says, "What type of user are you?" And if you're staff, you're going to say staff, and you're not going to use SSO. You're going to use an admin login that we give you. But if you're a patron, you're going to click patron, and it's going to jump you over to um, the Berkeley login. So I'll just show you what that looks like. Okay, so if I go to Berkeley and I say I'm a patron, it will redirect me to the familiar Berkeley login. And then once I log in, it'll jump me back to ComCat. I know you guys already tested this out and it seems to be working pretty well. Um, the only thing to be aware of here is that it seems to be that your login system is sending the email of the patron back to ComCat. So their email has to also be somewhere in their folio record, their folio patron record for the login to work, which we did basically when we migrated your patrons. We made sure to put the email somewhere in their patron record. So it should be okay, but there could be some exceptions because coming from two systems, you had some kind of wacky patron records here and there. David?
It was the patron records with a migrated block that weren't able to log in.
Right. That's another good point. Yeah, if your patron record has blocks, you are also blocked from using ComCat, which I don't know if we can do anything about that. I think that's just true for every setup. So, yeah. Okay. Staff logins. So staff logins, basically you don't have individual logins in ComCat as staff. You just have uh well, technically there's two. So we give you an ILL staff login and an admin login. Um, Basically, the only difference between them is that the admin login has access to patrons and the ILL staff login doesn't. It's up to your library whether or not you want to use both of these logins. If you're okay with just giving everyone the admin login, that's fine too. Um, and yeah, so essentially, I'm gonna have you guys create a password for that. And when we're done with the training, so that you can get into the system. Using the staff login has some benefits, some staff privileges that the patron login does not, which is why we recommend using it. You can use the staff login to place requests on behalf of patrons, which I'll get into in a moment. Okay, let's talk about searching a little bit. This is super important. So, ComCat is a live catalog, a live virtual catalog, I should say. It's not a union catalog. So we are not taking your records and loading them into ComCat. That would be crazy with 500 libraries. Instead, it uses the Z3950 protocol to put a call to your catalog and pull it up live. The benefit of that is that we can see in ComCat the real-time availability of all of your holdings. Um, and you can see the real-time availability of everyone else's holdings. So every time you do a search in ComCat, it is pulling from all these different catalogs live. Um, so everything that displays in ComCat should look pretty much identical to what you have in your system. Should look pretty similar to how you see things in Viewfind, essentially. Um, just a note at the bottom here that every catalog that you are searching has different kinds of searching capabilities. And so, some search tools that you use in other systems might not work in others. So it's a little finicky in that way. So I will just show you, this is the test system, by the way. It's pink and weird looking. Um, so if I want to search Berklee, there is this resources button here. It's like a databases icon. If I pull that up, I can see all the libraries available for searching. Some of these you will notice aren't actually libraries, they're full networks. So you can see that the CLAMS network is in here, the CW Mars network, the Noble network. Um, but if I just wanted to search Berklee, I could do that. So I could just check Berklee. The reason why the Flow libraries are split up instead of being under Flow is because you're all in different systems, and we can only do one Z3950 target per system. It's kind of an unusual setup. Most networks are in one system, so yeah. And we still have Flow though, because there are libraries that are in Voyager still that we're working to get into Folio at the moment. But I digress. So I will say search is a little slow, and I'm not logged in, so I don't have pretty cover art, but that's okay. Um, Actually, that wasn't that bad. So here are some nice Berklee results. I can also expand the tab over here and see Berklee is my only option. And here we go. Unfortunately, this one is not lendable, so there's no juicy location information there. Let me see if I can find one that is. Maybe that wasn't a good search term. You know what? I'll just do a full search so you can see what it looks like with all the libraries. So now that I'm searching all libraries, I have all libraries and all networks checked here. You can see that it takes a little bit longer to think. And this pop-up down here um, adds a bunch of additional search results in the background. And when it's done loading, you can click update to get everything. The reason for that is because before that pop-up existed, the screen would just flash and flash and flash and load, and it was kind of crazy. But anyway, now if I expand my libraries tab, you can actually see Berklee in here, and I could limit to you guys if I wanted to, or I could limit to one of these networks. And now you can kind of see what a lendable item looks like. So you can see I've got the library information in here and call number info. This is that real-time status I was talking about. These are available. And then this column right here is whether or not something is lendable. And I am kind of getting ahead of myself, so let me get back to my slides. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, you've got your resources, and then what I didn't mention is you also have the indexes. I almost always do a keyword search unless I'm looking for something very specific, obviously. Then I tend to do an ISBN search I find is the most useful. But obviously, whatever floats your boat. Oh, and there's also an advanced search, but I don't use it very often. It's just kind of one of those things where you can say this keyword and this keyword or this keyword, that sort of thing. Um, so obviously we have our filters on the left. I mentioned the additional results button. Um, and yeah, there's also a list button if patrons make lists, but I don't think that's used very much. So this is just kind of demonstrating how results are clustered. They're going to be clustered by title. So sometimes you'll see situations like this where there's one block for Lord of the Rings, but you can see it includes different formats under that block. Um, so if you have multiple formats under one cluster, then there is no request button. If you only have one format in a cluster, there is a request button. This is because in this scenario, ComCat doesn't know which of these formats you want, so you have to click in further to get to that request button. Um, so yeah, this is just kind of further explaining that. And here's a really crazy example that has book, DVD, ebook, film. We actually got rid of e-resources in ComCat, so you shouldn't be able to see that anymore because you just can't request e-resources. But yeah. So yeah, once you click further into the record, you're going to get to the brief record display. And here is where you can find information about the availability and the format and the edition that you're requesting. Um, and then after the brief record display, the full record display, which I was kind of scrolling through earlier, is kind of the most detailed view that you can get to. Um, these are broken out by network, so this is a Noble record from the Noble system. And this is also where you can find the mark if you need it. So I'll just go back to that. So you have kind of like the basic human readable info at the top here. Then you have the request info, like lendability info. And then down here is where you can see the mark and Goodreads, but whatever. Um, all the like patron empowerment things are going to be on the side here. Most importantly, the request this item button. You can use this request button if you're logged in as a patron, or if you're logged in as staff, it'll prompt you to look up a patron to request for. Yeah, go back here. Okay. Before I move on, any questions yet?
Yeah, I'm wondering, it may be too soon to ask this, but I'll ask it anyway, and you can tell me if that's true. Um, when a patron requests something, does it go directly into the system to libraries, or does it come to a moderator?
That's a good question. So it actually depends on the system. Unfortunately, Folio um, does not yet support the message that would send the request to your system. So you would have to look directly at ComCat to see what pending requests you have, or you can set up staff emails to get an email whenever you have a new request pending. Depends on what your load is. If you have like a lot of requests, you probably wouldn't want an email every time you get a new one. But if you only get them on occasion, I would recommend setting up an email. Some other systems, the request does appear in the system. We're kind of working right now to see if we can get Folio to support that, although it comes with some other issues, so we're not really sure which is better, to be honest.
So historically, we've always had moderated ILL requesting. That is, every request comes through a staff person before it's placed in the network.
Oh, I see. I think I misunderstood then. So you can have a patron place requests unmediated, or you can
It,
place
it,
requests on behalf of patrons, and that's kind of up to you. You can also set it so that every request requires approval of staff if you want. But
okay, well, that if we do go to unmediated, that'll be new. So we'll have to think about it.
okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, so any other questions? There are like other so the generic name for ComCat is called Share It. That's what the software is called. And there's other states using Share It. And I know some of them are staff mediated only, which I found interesting. But most of the Massachusetts libraries do it unmediated and just let patrons do whatever. But I think a lot of Flow libraries actually do staff requests only just because they don't market ComCat as much and they do it more as a, if a patron's coming up to you and requesting an item, you just go ahead and place a request for them in ComCat and they don't really need to know about it. So, yeah, I think it's more of a marketing concern than anything. Okay, moving on to requesting then. So this is another important thing. When you're placing a request on an item, you're not necessarily going to get the copy of the item that you're looking at in the screen, because when you place a request, there is something called a lender list process, a lender list building process that happens in the background. The example I have here is that you're placing a request on a book owned by Mass Bay Community College. The lender list process is going to search the rest of the system for anybody else that owns that item, and it's going to pull them in to the lender list. So in this case, you can see that there's an MBLN library in the lender list, there's a UMass Dartmouth item in the lender list, et cetera, et cetera. So if I go back here, this is a clams record. That doesn't mean I'm going to get the clams copy of dog going for a walk. I might get another copy of it. Some people just get confused by that. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It means, you're going to get the most chances possible to get the item. And hopefully, you'll get a library closest to you and not one a million miles away. But you never know. Sometimes only one library owns a book and you get kind of a distant library. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that when you log in as staff, you have some privileges. Some of those privileges include overriding things. So patrons are not allowed to place duplicate requests on like the same title. The only instance when a duplicate request is allowed is if you're doing like a book club request. You can do like a multi-copy request as staff, but as a patron, you can't do that. So staff have the ability to override duplicate requests. The other thing staff can override is the pass to local system. This is ComCat has it set up so that if a Berklee patron attempts to place requests on a Berklee item in ComCat, they'll be denied because they should be placing that request in ViewFind, so that they can just get it from Berklee. So staff can override that, and the reason why they might want to override that is sometimes ComCat gets things wrong and says that Berklee owns an item when actually it really doesn't. That doesn't happen too often, but if it does, staff can go in and override that and place the request for the patron. Yeah, another thing is that staff, when you're placing a request, you have the ability to write a note directly to the borrowing library. Or the lending library, depending on which side you're at. And if the patron writes a note in the request, you can see it and then you can send it along to the borrowing library or the lending library. Your trading partner library, they cannot see your patron's notes because of a privacy thing. So only staff can write to staff, essentially. No need for a PIN. So this is referring to when you are looking up a patron to place a request for, you don't need to know their PIN. I think this is in this slide because you used to need to know their PIN and now you don't. So you just plug in, usually the barcode works best when you're pulling up a patron. You can also use name, like usually last name works. And yeah, only one login for everything. So it's pretty convenient. Um, Patron lookup. Yeah, this is what I was just talking about. So when you click the request item button as a staff login, you will get this screen that tells you to look up the patron. And that is another instance of ComCat communicating directly with Folio. So it'll pull up all your patron data from Folio. Um, yeah, and here is just showing the difference between the staff request form and the patron request form. The only difference really is the staff form has that notes box that you can communicate directly with your trading library, and the patron request form, you cannot do that. You can only talk to your own library. Yeah, and network handling, I just mentioned, it's basically libraries. I mean, patrons shouldn't be requesting their own library's items in ComCat because that doesn't make sense. So we have this pop-up. This is a Helm library pop-up, as you can see, but it basically tells you to go to your local catalog. And if you click the yes button, it should redirect patrons to ViewFind, which is nice and convenient. Okay, before I get into managing requests, I'll just show you what the request form looks like. Um, okay, so you click request. Oh shoot, I got logged out somehow. One moment. Staff. Okay, so this is what you're going to see after you click the request button when you're logged in as staff. It tells you to plug in the barcode. There's also all this other stuff if you don't want to use barcode for whatever reason. Um, and I don't know my barcode from heart. So here is the folio test system. I'm going to grab my barcode. Of course, if you have a barcode scanner, you could just scan someone's card, however you do it at Berklee. Um, and I can say search, and then my patron record gets pulled up right away. If you click on the patron, they will get pulled into the request form. So you can see that my information has been pulled in, including my address, and my email. Email is kind of the only important part, really. Well, email and barcode are the two important parts, really. And additionally, all of the bibliographic info is in here as well. And then if I were to submit this request, it would go out to all the libraries in ComCat that own this item. And hopefully the first one would send it to me. Yeah, so that's what that looks like. Patrons, if patrons are requesting, they're also able to change their pickup location, which I don't see happening with Berklee, but you never know. There, there have been periods in the past where libraries are like under construction or something, and they tell their patrons to go elsewhere. So, David, you have your hand raised.
Are we obligated to allow patron requesting through the website directly, or is that something we can turn off if we find it to be problematic?
You can turn it off. Um, so I'll show you how to do that actually. If you go to the participant record, which is kind of where you configure everything. It's like the settings app, basically. There is a show request button feature here, and you can uncheck it for patrons.
Uh-huh.
So if someone logs in as a patron, they wouldn't be able to place a request, essentially.
Okay, so that's a conversation we'll have to have if we want to do that, but
Yeah,
thank you.
that's totally an option. I should have probably mentioned that sooner. Uh, anyway.
You have any feeling for what most flow libraries do as far as allowing direct
I
borrower?
think most of them allow it, but it's not used very often. So I think staff usually just place requests on behalf of patrons because patrons aren't as aware of it. Um, so
Okay.
it's kind of like a soft allow, but because patrons aren't aware of it, they don't use it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Totally up to you. I think the only like obligations you have when you join ComCat is it's expected that you will lend items. Because if you're going to benefit from borrowing, you should also give
Yeah,
back.
we've talked about that.
Yeah. Um, okay, moving right along. Okay, so this is kind of the bread and butter of what you actually do when you're a staff person in ComCat is managing requests. So those could be lending requests, those could be borrowing requests. And you have multiple ways to get a look at your requests that are pending or active. My favorite method is the request manager because it's kind of just everything at a glance. You can see it's broken down by whether you're the borrower or the lender, and then after that, it's broken down by the status that the request is in. So you can kind of see like everything that you have, everything you've received, everything that's been shipped, and everything that's still pending, whatnot. And then the other methods over here can kind of be useful every now and then. You can browse by the title. This title browse is broken down by borrower and lender requests, borrowing and lending requests, I should say. So you can look at all your borrowing requests in one table and all your lending requests in one table. So that's pretty useful too. If you just want to pull up a specific request and you have the request number, which you can usually find on the Bookstrap, which we'll talk about later, you can just plug it into the request number search and go directly to that request. Okay, before I get into this, let's just take a look at that request manager. Okay, well, Berkeley's is empty because you guys haven't started yet. So let's go to in the test system, I have actually done some test requests. Um, so again, here is the borrowing side. On the left is all of the borrowing requests. That is Berklee borrowing other libraries' items. And then on the right side is all the lending requests, which is Berklee sending Berklee items out to other libraries. And you can see that there is a completed request here for me, borrowing an item. And so in this table, I can see, who placed the request. I can see the request number, and I can see the title and status. You can also check these boxes to see additional information here if you need it,
If
like
you
due
click
date.
on that three correspondences underlined, does that take you to the record in Folio?
No, this takes you to the request.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no like direct links to Folio anywhere in here. Um, And another thing that is good to know about the request manager that I can't show you if I'm logged in at Berklee, so let me go somewhere else. Might actually be good to see a busier library anyway. Um, let's see if they have anything at the moment. Yes, they do. Okay. So here is Brandeis. They do a lot of ComCat stuff, so they have a lot of active requests going on here, as you can see. And one thing I wanted to show is that if you go to your pending lending requests, there is a pick list button right here. So if you want a nice printable version of all of your lending requests, if you want to pull stuff from the shelf, that is where that lives. And yeah, you can do the sorting and all that stuff. So that's handy. And another thing is that in addition to being broken down by borrower versus lender, you can also see that at the bottom here, there's this thing that says items awaiting trading partner response. It's just a really long way to say you don't need to do anything to the request down here because you're waiting for the other library to do stuff. So for example, um, in this pending for borrowing, the lending library on the other side of this request needs to ship the item to you, and you don't need to do anything. You're just waiting for them. So what you really want to be focused on is anything above this label down here. That's the stuff that needs your attention. Okay. Oh yeah, I should probably show you the other stuff. So for the title browse, you've got the borrower title browse and the lender title browse. Um, if you just click on that, you can see another table of all your requests. Note that when you are the lender, you don't see the other library's patron, you just see the library because everything in ComCat is library to library, not library to patron. Um, and then the request search is a button right here, and it's just a box, not very exciting, where you plug in the request number, which will pull it up. Okay, don't think I have a slide talking about the actual request, so I guess I'll show you that. So as I was saying earlier, when you click on any title in any of these tables, it's going to take you to the full record display of the request. This is just where you see all the details that you need for your request, including due date, who your partner library is, any notes that they might have sent you, um, and the status, etc., etc. This is also where you're going to manage requests. So you have this drop down here where you choose whatever status you want to set the request to, and then you have a submit button to make changes. So this isn't shipped. If I want to say I've received this item, I would click received and then submit, but I'm not going to mess up their system, so I'm not going to do that. You can also technically update statuses in a batch sometimes. Let's see if I can. Oh, actually, sorry, I have to go to a status for that. So if I have, say, a bunch of received requests and I want to set them to returned, I can also do that from the table. So if I click returned, it's going to mark 2 requests returned instead of just 1. We do have this like cautionary message though, because we have had instances in the past of people accidentally like updating 100 requests at once that they didn't mean to do. So this is kind of used at your own caution, please. Okay, let's talk about the life cycle of a request. So, I actually have PDFs to go over this. All right. So, I don't know. Let's do lending first. Lending is a little bit easier. Um, okay. So, let me make my screen a little bigger. All right, so this is what it looks like if you're lending an item to another library in ComCat. So first you see the request show up in the pending status. You can see in the request manager that's going to be on the right. You're going to obviously pick up the item physically. You're going to change the request from pending to shipped to tell the other library that you have shipped the item. And this is actually a point where ComCat will communicate directly with Folio, and it's going to check the item out to the library in your system. At that point, you're going to print and attach a bookstrap and attach a routing slip. So you're probably familiar with routing slips already, but ComCat also has bookstraps. And this is just a attachable printout that shows the other library the request number, and also it prints out the barcode of the item so that they can easily scan it. I will show you that later. Yes.
So we're used to having a copy of the request, but an actual physical book strap that goes around the cover and is
Mhm.
attached. We have not been doing that, and I see that as being a fairly significant increase in staff time requirement. Is that required?
Unfortunately, yes. And
That it be in that form?
so your options are either to do a strap or a sticker, and there is a Avery sticker template that you can use within ComCat if you just want to slap it on. But some people are against the stickers because they think like, couldn't be great for the books to have stickers on them all the time.
Yeah.
Um, so I've seen different methods. Sometimes people actually make like a physical, like big strap to do around the cover of the book. Sometimes people just cut out like a square and tape it on. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it's a requirement.
Yeah, Reg, we'll
Um,
talk about it. I've vast experience making those things. So,
oh really?
oh yeah.
I have none.
Okay. Um, whether or not it's going to be a huge burden is depends on how many requests you get, I would say. I know libraries with lots of requests kind of find it a pain, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, after you attach the slip and the strap, you're going to ship it physically. Optima handles all of the ComCat delivery stuff, like it does for all the other ILL stuff, I believe. Um, And then the borrowing library is going to take it away from there in ComCat and do all their stuff. And then you don't need to worry about it essentially until it's delivered back to you from Optima again. At that point, all you're going to do is you're going to update the status in ComCat to check in. This is going to communicate with Folio again. It's going to check in the item. So ComCat tries to save you a lot of time. You don't need to physically check anything out in Folio. It does it for you, and you also don't need to check anything in. It does that for you too. So essentially, for lending, you don't really need to look at Folio at all, except for maybe, actually no. So when you're shipping, you do need to confirm that the barcode is correct in the request, but I guess you could just look at the item for that. You don't need to look at Folio. Um, And then after you mark a request check-in, it's going to be automatically shifting to the status complete. And then it will disappear after 10 days, just to keep your request manager clean. Um, the system will delete it. Carrie.
What happens if you do get the item back and check it in Folio while it is being
Yeah, that's not an issue either. If you check it in earlier in Folio and then you try to check it in ComCat, ComCat will just say, "Hey, this is already checked in. What's going on?"
Okay, so
But it
Folio communicates back to ComCat to change the status?
no, Folio it's only one way. So Folio
Okay.
doesn't talk to ComCat. ComCat talks to Folio.
Uh-huh.
Um, the idea is you're supposed to do everything in ComCat for this kind of request.
Okay.
Um,
But then
but if
if
you
it
don't
is
like that
checked in already,
Yeah, if you don't like that workflow and you're just used to checking it in Folio, it won't really cause that many issues. It'll just be
okay,
like, what's going on? But the status will still update in ComCat, so it's not a big deal.
yeah, you'll still have to just update it in ComCat, but Folio will still be like, oh, we're already set, so it won't, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it'll try to check it in again, but it won't be able to because it's already checked in.
All right, yeah. I have no idea what the process will be, but as long as it doesn't cause any issues if people do it in the wrong order, that's fine.
No, it usually doesn't. Yeah.
Those book straps really help from preventing that from happening too.
Oh, good.
My question is, what happens to the completed requests after 10 days when they're deleted? Is that completely deleted irretrievably, or do they go somewhere in a closed status?
So it is irretrievably deleted, but we keep monthly snapshots of all of your requests for you
Mhm.
so that you can, if you need to reference previous request, you can do that. And that is on this reports page. We
Yeah.
upload activity and request reports monthly. So everything should be trackable, basically. This is
Mhm.
out of date because this is the test system, but it's up to date on the production system. Um, Carrie, did you have another question or?
Oh, no, sorry, I forgot to lower
Oh,
it.
okay. Just checking. Okay. And if we have time, which I think we probably will, we'll be going through this workflow again, but with a volunteer. So, um, I'm hoping like a hands-on experience will help it sink in a little more. Um, but let's look at the borrowing side now. So this is the reverse of what I just showed you. Okay, so a library um lent you an item and it arrived at your library. And when you get it, you're going to change the status in ComCat to received to say that you received the item. One thing that ComCat does here, that is probably the most involved communication with Folio is it's going to generate an item record for you. Because obviously you don't own this item, so you don't have the item record. So it's going to generate kind of like a brief bib with an item. That generated record is going to be suppressed automatically because you don't want your ComCat ILLs showing up in viewfind. It's also going to trigger a hold or a page, sorry. It's going to trigger a page on the patron's record for you. So most of it's done for you. The only part you need to do in Folio, which makes sense because you wouldn't want it to check out the item to the patron instantly, is you're going to check the item out to the patron when the patron shows up. Um, You can set up notices to tell the patron that an item has arrived. You can either have you can either just keep going with whatever you have set up in Folio and have Folio send out the notices, or you can set up additional notices in ComCat. We can talk about that later. Most libraries find that the Folio notices are more than enough, and they don't need the ComCat ones, but we'll see. Anyway, after you check out the item, obviously the patron is going to return it eventually. I have this do not check the item in. Again, if you check the item in Folio, it's not the end of the world. It's just not technically what you're supposed to do. If you change the request to returned, which is the next step in ComCat, it will check the item in for you. And then attach a routing slip. You don't need to do a bookstrap in this case because the lending library already did that. And ship it off to Optima. So yeah, two different things. One, you are borrowing an item and you're checking it out to your own patron. The other one, you are lending it to a library. I don't know how many of you already know this, but we did load all of the ComCat libraries into your system. So if you go over here and you check ComCat, you can see all the ComCat libraries are in here. And we update this list whenever a new library joins ComCat for you. So you don't need to worry about this getting outdated. So when you're lending an item, it's going to be checked out to whichever library you're lending it to. That's like a privacy thing, but also so you don't have to load billions of patrons into your system. Okay. Let me go back here. So that was kind of a lot of information, but it's like, you know, you kind of learn by doing as well, I hope. And also I'll be providing these PDFs. I find them really useful to follow along with. And hopefully we can do a little exercise if we have time and go through one of those workflows. Excuse me. One status that throws people off, so we kind of have this slide about it, is awaiting approval. The awaiting approval status, which I kind of mentioned earlier, is when a patron places a request, but a staff member has to approve it before it goes off to other libraries. By default, the awaiting approval status is used for if a patron adds a note to the request. The idea is that staff should read the patron's note before they submit the request because they might be asking for something specific. Or they might just be saying thank you, which is often the case. But the point is, if ever you get a status awaiting approval, you need to approve that request or else it will sit there indefinitely. So it's good to keep track of your request statuses. I already went over that. Kristen?
I'm sorry if this is way too in the weeds. Do you have a slide that I may have missed that has all of the catalog changes? So for example, when that dummy bib record is created for an item that one of our patrons has from ComCat, is there something where if I see that in the catalog and I'm doing cleanup, that I will know what I'm seeing? Like, what are the
That's a
markers
good
on that
question.
record?
So I was doing some testing earlier and I have all these tests here. I think it's pretty obvious because it has everything ComCat essentially. It's got a ComCat location, it's got a ComCat item type somewhere, and it's a suppressed, very basic record. We're actually working with index data to improve this because it's almost too basic. I mean, this is a test record, so it's not going to have a lot of information, but yeah, I think it's pretty
This is
clear.
great. This is exactly the sort of thing I came to this session to find out, is what am I actually seeing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we are also working on setting up a cron job to clear out these records every now and then, because there is an issue of if you request the
Create a
same,
record, you can't delete it.
yeah, well, you can't delete records. And also, if you request the same item twice in ComCat, it'll yell at you because there's a conflict because barcodes have to be unique.
That
Yeah.
was my follow-up question, was how do these records get deleted? So thank you.
Yeah, we're working on that. It's probably going to be pretty easy for us to just set up a cron job and do that. And
Right?
we usually send out kind of like a notification to let you know what's been deleted too, like a report.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I'm glad people of all different roles came because these are good questions. Stacy?
Yeah, what a perfect setup for my question. Person in a very different role. Um, this is just one of those questions that if I don't ask it now, I'll look really incompetent later. All of this is like so remedial. All of this is mostly just relating to physical items available in Flow library catalogs. For any ILL stuff related to article requests, is there any sort of Flow integrated request process for that, or that's
Not
unrelated?
yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet, and I think if there will be, I think that might be more reshare's realm. I think they're working on non-returnables in reshare at the moment. It hasn't been implemented yet. ComCat does not do any non-returnables or e-resources.
And at this
That
point, we are not providing article requests outward.
Okay.
We do place them for patrons who want them here, but we do not provide them to other libraries.
Okay.
Oh, I so much just now. I'm so glad I asked. Okay, that was very useful in getting the term unreturnables that as a non-circular. That
That's
was
what ComCat calls them.
One
that's
more
useful.
one more clarifying point, Stacy, is ComCat is not just Flow, it's statewide. Reshare is
Oh,
just Flow.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
actually, there's a useful page,
Mhm.
participants, that shows you all the libraries you're gaining access to.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess it makes
Mhm.
sense because Com being short for Commonwealth. Okay, great.
Yep, as in Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you for entertaining my outsider questions. Okay.
No problem. Daniel.
Yes, so if one of our patrons requests an item, they can pick up select a pickup location, right?
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, when the item comes, right, it goes to Reg's office and the new record is created and they check in the item, the notifications don't go yet to the patron. It's gonna be in transit and then it's gonna trigger or send a notification once the item is checked in here at guest. Is that correct?
Notifications depend. I'd have to look at what you have set up in Folio. It depends on how you have them triggered, but I think what you described sounds accurate to me. Do you have like like hold available for pickup kind of notice?
I don't remember.
Yes, we
Uh,
do.
We do,
okay.
okay. But yeah,
So,
we don't want to notify the patron if the item is not still here, where the pickup location was selected, right?
yeah, so you can have it basically send no notices until you're completely ready to hand the
Okay,
item off to the patron. I think that's pretty easy to make sure that happens.
So as
okay.
of now, we don't have any automatic notifications. Um, I do them manually via
Mm.
email from here. I assume
Oh, really?
that's what they do at Gets as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to talk about this later because
Right.
it's kind of getting into
Yeah.
the weeds. But yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, a lot of things to fix. Also, we don't check out items here at guest, ILL items to patrons. We just handle them. So I
So
guess from now,
that's
yeah.
another important thing. When we set this up, we chose what
Yeah.
ILL service point we would
Yep.
use.
Yep.
And hold on. I think it was, yeah, Albert Alphen
Yep.
Perfect.
is what we chose. So that's where all the circulation should be happening, hopefully.
I do all the check in and check out at this office and then
Beautiful.
send things over to Stan Getz already checked in or out
I see, I see.
as needed.
Interesting. All right, that makes sense. Okay, Any other questions before we move on?
I have one that's also into the weeds that has just occurred to me is important. Um, what
Okay.
what markers in Folio, in our instance of Folio, are we using to determine if something is lendable to ComCat or ILO?
That's a great question. The answer is shelving location,
Okay,
and I can actually show you Berklee's table.
that would be really handy for me to have access to.
Yeah. Whoops, I am not a patron, just kidding. Sometimes I click too fast.
It happens.
Okay. So, this is kind of getting into the weeds, but under Pack Admin, which I don't remember what Pack is, but you can click on Public Search Resources and Berklee. And then if you scroll down here, you can see a table of all of your shelving locations and whether or not they're requestable. This is based on a table that you guys, a Google Sheet you guys sent me.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you can see how availability is mapped, but that's not as interesting. And then if you click on self-defined here, you can see even the mark. So the location is being pulled from the 852B, call number C, blah, 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 status here. So that is how ComCat through Z3950 is determining what to tell patrons is available or not. You can
Okay.
also change the display language here to say something else, but currently we just have it say Berklee College or Berklee College not requestable. So that's what that looks like.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And yeah, if I will say if you ever add a location, you should probably let us know so that we can update that and let us know if it's requestable or not.
This is exactly why I asked this question is
We
because
do
catalog
on
are not stagnant things.
yeah, so even if you don't remember to do that, we check on a quarterly basis for new locations that are not mapped, so we might be just reaching out to you directly.
Sure.
Carrie. Oh,
I was
sorry.
just going to ask if whoever sent that spreadsheet to Eliana could share it with me, that would be helpful for me to have access to.
Yeah, we can get you a gander at that, sure.
Thank you.
Is that set up how it is supposed to be in ComCat right now? Because it just said like annex wasn't requestable, which is surprising.
Yeah, I saw that too.
There was a reason for that I don't remember.
We can change this
But
at any time if you need us to.
don't change it right now, please.
I won't.
Okay.
But yeah, we could talk about that later. I
Okay.
have to remember what the logic was, but there was a reason for that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the bookstrap a little bit more. Whoops, that's not the right button. Okay, so within ComCat, you have your ILL admin menu, which is kind of the menu where all the important buttons live. And within that menu, there is a print bookstraps button. When you click that, you get a table of all your active requests that you have not printed a bookstrap for yet. You can also have it set to show you ones that you have printed and ones that are unprinted in case you need to print something twice, which happens often to me. And then essentially you just click Format to Print and you will get this printable strap thingy. Usually the first time you do this, it prompts you to install some sort of software that allows this to print, and I think it has to do with how the barcodes are formatted. I think it's like you have to install like a font or something. But it should be pretty straightforward to set up. If it's not, let us know and we can help you troubleshoot. But usually people don't have too many issues with this. Um, yeah, and as I was saying, the bookstrap has two scannable things. It's got the request number if the library needs to pull up the request really quick, and it's also got the item barcode and the basic information in there. It's also has some delivery info which I don't really know why that's needed because that's also on the transit slip, but I guess it's good to have things in multiple places. Um, yeah, that's what that looks like. I can show it to you directly in the system too. Let me go back to Brandeis because they have some requests to work with. Okay. All right, so we've got print book straps right here. And they've got quite a lot going on. I'll just go to printed so I don't mess them up. And then you can see here it says B or L, so borrower or lender request. I don't really, you only really need it if you're a lender, so I don't really know what the point of that is. And then probably the library and the request number are going to be useful here. And then you can just choose whatever you want to print and say format. And this is what it looks like. I don't really know what the point of this second one is, to be honest. I think it's really just this first thing that you need. Um, and as I was saying, people either wrap it around or they just cut it out as a box and tape it on the cover. If you have like a DVD, sometimes people slip it in to the clear plastic. And then your other option here is, where is it? Avery labels is the other thing. Not as popular, but some libraries do it. You can print sticky labels out instead. So yeah, those are your two formats.
Can you print multiple per page?
Oh, hmm. Let's see. Oh yeah, you can. Oh wait. No, yeah, you can. It looks like I don't know if this is 4 per page or 2 per page, but
But that's probably not best practice if you're having
3.
student workers attach these. Just saying.
Yeah, I imagine we'll be talking a lot about the exact details of this, but it's nice to have options.
Yeah, we might, maybe in the next Folio user group meeting, we can talk about what other libraries do in the Flow network for bookstraps. Right. And as far as routing slips go, I imagine you don't really need me to tell you much, right? Do you guys use routing slips for stuff? Yeah.
Reg is nodding his head because he's
Okay,
the one
cool.
who's dealing with those currently.
Yes, we use
Uh,
the same courier for the eligible libraries that we lend to from WorldShare. So we are very
exactly.
familiar with this slip.
Yeah. In case you randomly need it, there are templates within ComCat as well as the delivery index. That lives, I believe, on the help desk page. So on the help desk page, there is this section called delivery and labeling. You can find additional instructions for bookstraps here too, but you can also find routing slip templates and also the delivery index. I know delivery is pretty particular about people getting things correct, so we provide that in case you need it. Okay, so we're getting to the more kind of like miscellaneous advanced topics now, so I think we can take maybe like a 5-minute break, and then come back and do the exercise. How's that sound?
Great.
Okay, I will pause the recording. Start the recording. Okay, so I would like to do an exercise. Do I have a volunteer? Sure.
You should have Reg do it because he's probably gonna do the bulk
Okay,
of
Reg.
this stuff. Yeah.
This will involve sharing your screen. So
Share, okay. Share. Nothing's happening. Oh, there we go. That's how it should
okay.
look.
I don't see it yet.
Share. Oh, I have to. What's that? Oh,
Great.
more
Okay.
so. You don't want
So
that. You don't want
that
more. Do you want?
I'm posting a link in the chat if you
Okay.
could go to that link.
Oh, there it is. This one, test. There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to simulate a borrowing request. So first I would like to have you search for my test item. Let me make sure I have the right information on my end though. Okay. All right. So if you could please first go to the resources button. It looks like a database icon and it's next to the search bar. Yes. And if you could click clear all and then just choose Helm, Helm, because they have the test item. And then if you could do a keyword search for the title I am putting in, I don't know why it showed up as a link. Search for flow test record 2. Perfect. Okay, so please click on the record. You can click on the cover or the book button, doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, so you can see that this item is owned by Worcester and also by Bristol, so you'll probably get it from one of those two. Could you please click request this item? Oh, wait, I guess we didn't log in. All right,
No.
so okay, so to log in, you're gonna choose your library.
You got a list. Oh, you have to type in Berklee.
Yeah.
There it comes. Okay.
Okay, so the training login is going to be admin, and then the password is just going to be training.
Do I have that right?
Yeah.
This where it goes?
Yes. Oh, I don't know why it says last name. I have to fix that. I think it used to be last name for all the full libraries.
Good.
Um,
Here.
okay, so now you can click request. Thankfully, it took us back to where we were. Okay, so we're going to use my patron record. So let me give you my barcode,
Hmm.
or you could pull it up yourself, I guess, but I'll put it in the chat.
Uh,
Okay, my barcode is in the chat.
there we go.
It's just 11223344.
Okay. Good. Make it easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the? How do I get back to the right place? I need advice on getting back to where we were.
You could try clicking Alt Tab on your keyboard. Sometimes that helps.
Is that it up there? It says I'm screen sharing and I can see the little screen, but I can't make it get bigger.
I can see your Firefox browser.
Here we go. That did it.
Great.
11223344.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, now you're gonna click search or hit enter. Either works. Okay, now you can click on me.
You.
It's me. Okay, so as you can see, you're gonna place a request. Why don't you scroll to the bottom though, just to make sure everything looks okay. Everything looks fine. It's going to Berklee. So you can click submit. There we go.
Yeah.
So you can see that it has been successfully submitted and you can click OK.
Yay.
All right. Now let's take a look at the request you just submitted. So you can go back home or you can go to the staff dashboard. Probably
Either-
staff dashboard is easiest.
Okay.
Sometimes I go back home just to orient myself. Okay. So you can go to the request manager.
Ooh.
Yeah, actually, can you go back to the staff dashboard? I want to point something out. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see there's quick links. These are like keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
I personally don't use them, but if you're a keyboard shortcut fan, that's what those are. You can also just click them though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go back to the request
Yes,
manager.
please. Okay, so you can see at the bottom on the left, you have one pending borrowing request. That's the request you just placed.
That's the one.
Yeah. And you can see it's for me. You can see the request number. Let's click on it. Okay. So it's pending. It's in the awaiting trading partners response section, which means you don't have to do anything. You're just waiting for Bristol to respond. Because if you look at the bottom here, you can see that Bristol is going to be not the way bottom. If you scroll up a little more. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you could see that Bristol is your current lender. You can also see that you can see the lender's phone number there. So if you needed to call Bristol to ask them a question, that's where you get that information.
Yeet.
Also in the lender list box, you can see that it says Helm WSU. That
No.
is Worcester State University. So if Bristol can't lend you the item, Worcester State University might be able to.
Okay.
Okay, now if I could take over the screen share, I'm going to show you the other side and pretend that I'm Bristol.
Okay. Do I have to do something?
Oh yeah, just stop sharing.
Oh, stop
I think
sharing.
there's like a red button or something.
Oh,
Probably the Zoom
stop
like
sharing.
menu. There you go. Okay, so I have been sent a request and I will show you what it looks like. Oh, sorry, I need to be in the sandbox. Okay, so I'm going to pretend I'm Bristol. And I can only do this because I have access to their system. Um,
As we would not.
yeah.
Okay.
So here is my request manager. You can see that the pending is now on the right-hand side because I happen to be the lender in this case. Here is the request that I've just been sent. And I can see it's from Berklee. So I'm going to click on here. Okay. So my goal here, as you could see back when we were looking at this,
Mhm.
is I want to set the status to shipped and send it over to Berklee. I also want to do the bookstrap and all that, but I'm not going to show you that right now because that would take too long. So I basically all I need to do here is I need to scan in the barcode of my item and I need to mark it shipped.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go to Koha, which is Helm system, and I'm gonna copy paste their barcode, which is just barcode. If I had the actual item, I could also just scan it. And I'm gonna put it in this item barcode text box.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm gonna go ahead and mark it shipped
Huh.
and submit. Back in Koha, not that you guys, oh wait, you guys are familiar with Koha, sweet.
Ah.
So back in Koha, you can see I just marked it shipped in ComCat and it communicated directly with Koha and it checked it out to Berklee College of Music.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to check it out in Koha, I just marked it shipped in ComCat. If
Wow.
I go back to my request manager, you can see that the request is no longer under pending. It's now under shipped, and it's also now under awaiting items awaiting trading partner response because I don't need to do anything at this point.
Right. They just have to say they've gotten it when they do.
Correct. And it's back over to you, Reg. So if you could share your screen, please.
There it is. And I want to share this one.
This is going to seem like a kind of long process, but really you're just taking like one step a day because
Right.
things need time to ship to you. So normally it wouldn't take this long. Okay, so can you go back to the request manager, please? And you can click on the breadcrumb there if you want.
Yep, okay.
You still need to click on requests manager. There you go. Okay, so now you can see that you have more stuff under borrowing. You have something in the shipped box right now. You can see you have one request under shipped. So if you click on shipped, you can see the request that I just made shipped as Bristol. So
Right.
if you click on that, we're going to
This is coming to
pretend,
us.
yeah,
This is to us, right, that we placed? Yep.
yeah. So we're going to pretend that you have the item now.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and see where that drop down is at the top.
Under
Uh,
staff
it's
dashboard.
it's only drop down actually in the request.
Oh, in the request, right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so you're going to click on that and you're going to click on received
Received.
because you've received the item and you're going to click submit to,
Oh, to make it happen.
yeah. It's kind of like the equivalent of Folio has save and close.
Yep.
Okay, and you can see that your interlibrary loan request has been successfully updated.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the part where we go into Folio instead.
Hmm.
So, we actually want to be looking at your Folio sandbox though, because the ComCat sandbox is connected to your Folio sandbox conveniently.
Uh-huh.
Reg, do you
So
have the logins for the sandbox? If you don't, I can.
I don't know if I do or not.
Okay, hold on.
Can also post the link in the chat if you need it.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
All right, it's in the Zoom chat.
Beautiful. Okay, so could
Yep.
you go to the requests app, please? Okay. So if you look at the pages, so if you go to the filters on the left and you choose pages,
Okay.
and then you could sort the request date by most recent. I don't
Yep.
know why it sorts by the oldest by default. I really don't like that. Anyway, you can see that there's a new page in there.
Yes.
So this ComCat generated this page for you. So if you click on Flow Test Record 2, the title, you can see that it has been placed for me if you scroll to the bottom. Yeah, there I am. And you can see at the top that it has created this record. So you can see that the barcode is barcode. And if you click on the title or the barcode, I guess, yeah, it'll take you to that record that it generated.
Yep.
Um,
Automatically suppressed.
automatically suppressed. And so this is the part you're supposed to do in ComCat. You're supposed to now check it out to the patron, essentially.
Uh, so is that you?
Yeah.
Are you in here? Yes, you are.
There I am.
And then let's see, I was supposed to have gotten the
The
item.
barcode is just barcode.
Yeah,
So
barcode. Beauty.
And there you go. And if you just pause for a moment, you can see that the loan policy is ComCat and reshare borrowing.
Oh.
That is a policy we have set up. Every patron has 28 days, a 28-day loan.
Oh, yeah.
Libraries, on the other hand, when you're lending, they have 56 days because that accounts for 14 days shipping there, 28 days for their patron to take the item out, and then 14 days to ship it back. So,
Oh, okay. Yep.
but in the case of a borrowing request, you're going to have this 28-day loan period.
Okay.
So you can end the session. And now, could you go to my user record in the users app?
Users, there they are. And you are. Oop.
Okay. And could you just take a look at my open loans?
Loans. One.
Yes. Could you just open that up and click on open loan?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see that the loan is obviously checked out because we just did that. Now, could you go back to ComCat?
Oh.
I think
Because we're
Carrie has
going
a question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah, I just have a really quick question. It looks like in Folio, we can renew these. Do we have a policy set up yet for renewals of ILL, or does that depend completely on the library?
So that's a good question.
You
By
talked about renewing items that we've requested.
Yeah,
So I do have a workflow for that in
Okay.
WorldShare. And would try to adapt it as closely as possible to whatever ComCat will allow.
Yeah, so unfortunately, by policy, we don't allow renewals in ComCat.
Most,
okay.
See.
If I try to renew this in Folio, will it tell me that it won't allow it?
Yeah, because the loan policy doesn't allow renewals.
Okay.
And the same thing will happen in ComCat. ComCat does have a renewal button because unfortunately we can't hide it, but it won't let you do it. It'll just get mad at you.
Okay. If it's.
It won't break anything. It'll just be
Yeah.
like, you can't do this.
Can I try to override it and see what happens?
Sure. You might be able to override it. I think some libraries do that.
whatever it's worth, when I worked for Noble and Merrimack Valley libraries, they did not allow renewals in ComCat either, even though that
Yeah.
button is there. So
Okay, it just let me override, but that's a good sign that the patrons won't be
think-
able to, so,
Yeah, I think if you like communicate, as long as you communicate with the other library and say like, hey, the patron really needs this a little longer, they might let it slide and you can override it in your system, but you can't override it in ComCat, so it's a little confusing.
Oh,
But so yeah, I would just follow the rules as best you can, but you know.
okay.
Okay, anyway. All right. So could you go back to the request manager, please? And go back to the request you just received. So you'll need to click on the receive status to get to it. Okay, so let's open the request by clicking on the title. And now we're going to return it. So if you go to the drop-down again, you're just going to find the return status. You'll notice that there's also, a lost option there. So there's a couple choices, and these choices change with every status. So these are the options you have when something is in
I noticed
received.
it's also a renewal option, but we won't talk.
Yeah, and that'll be rejected if you try it, hopefully. But anyway,
Should I
we can
submit that?
maybe experiment with that later, but yeah. Submit is good.
Okay.
Okay, success. Now if you go back to Folio and look at my patron record, if you refresh the page, it should have closed the loan automatically. There we go. So when you marked the request return
Yeah, those went away.
in ComCat, it did a check-in for you. This process, by the way, it's called the NSIP protocol. NCIP is what ComCat uses to communicate with systems, and it's compatible with basically all the systems. It's kind of like SIP2, but different, if you're familiar with that.
No.
And okay, not really important, but if anyone's more techie, they might appreciate that knowledge. Okay, so now that you have returned it, it is actually my turn again. So if I could please share my screen, I'll just need you to stop sharing yours. Thank you. So your job is done, essentially. Good job.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did great. So I'm Bristol again. I'm the lender. I'm gonna go to my request manager. Reg just returned something, so you can see I have something in my returned basket or whatever you want to call it. Um, and say I just got the item back. You can see in my system it's still checked out to Berklee with a 56-day loan period. I'm gonna go back here, say check in, which does exactly what it says on the tin. So I'm gonna say submit. It goes into complete. And then if I refresh my page over here, you can see that the item is now available in Koha because it did a check-in. So on Berklee's side, it checked it in off of the patron record, and on Bristol's side, it checked it in off the library's record.
And it reached into the local catalog and did the check-in for you.
Exactly. So yeah, new workflow might take some getting used to, but essentially ComCat tries to do some heavy lifting for you, which in the long run I think is a nice thing. And now my request is incomplete and will disappear in 10 days. And that's how you do a borrowing request.
Fantastic.
Any questions? Not gonna do a whole lending request because that would take up a lot of time. But if you want, if you need more hands-on stuff, we can meet in again another day. Okay,
Go
I
live
do
day
have,
is March 31. Is that what I heard?
say again?
Go live day is March 31.
Yes.
That's the goal. Is that gonna really happen?
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
I
Last
mean,
date I heard was March 25. So, okay. I'm glad to change it. Thank you.
yeah, it's pretty much ready to go when you guys are essentially. Like we tested logging in works. We have your availability stuff set up. The only thing we don't have set up is notices, but you may or may not want those. So, uh David, I can reach out to you and Yamil about that.
Yeah, Emil's out till Thursday, but we can when he gets back I'll
Yeah, it's really not
powwow with
urgent. You
him.
can even go live without the notices and set them up later. So, um I do have some more slides to go through, so let's get back to that. Okay. So I've already touched on this a little bit, but Flow does provide statistics for you guys. That is monthly statistics, quarterly statistics, and annual statistics. And those are going to be found on the reports tab when you log in. We also have mailing lists where we kind of send out reminders about these stats. If you want to join any of the ComCat mailing lists, you're free to. There is a ComCat users mailing list and a ComCat liaisons mailing list. Uh, One of them, the liaisons list, is kind of more for admins, and then the users list is kind of more just for access services people. And if we go back over to that reports page, we have an explanation for what all of these reports are over here if you're new. But if you just want to download something, then you can just click the link and it will automatically download an Excel spreadsheet. So this is an example of an activity and request report, specifically all of the borrowing that happened in January 2025. So I was talking about this earlier, where we keep a snapshot of all the requests that happen. And this is really useful in case Sometimes a request will be deleted prematurely, and the lender or the borrower needs to track down where is this item from again. I mean, normally you would know because of the bookstrap, but sometimes the bookstrap goes missing too. So it's just good to have a record of this sort of stuff just in case. So this is one kind of report we do. Probably the more interesting report, though, would be our year-to-date stats, which is just a count of all the incoming and outgoing ILL happening at each library. We have it broken down by library and also broken down by network. So we also have a count for flow altogether, but you know, you can find your library. Let me go down to flow. Berklee shouldn't be in here yet because you guys are new. But oh, actually you are in here. They were fast at adding you. So it will be counts of all your requests submitted, items received, and requests shipped. So if you need those ILL counts for like annual reporting or anything like that, we provide it for you. You can see it's actually monthly and annual. So. Okay. Yeah, here are some other reports. One of them that I didn't mention is a quarterly report called the Stay Too Long report. Probably won't be a problem for you guys. Excuse me. But if you have a lot of requests, this shows you the requests that have been sitting around for more than 30 days. We recommend that people keep track of how many requests they have because patrons are only allowed a maximum of 10 active requests, and beyond the 10 active requests, they'll be blocked from placing more requests, which might not be an issue if you don't even use patron mediated requests, but I digress. Okay. This is really getting into the weeds, but I'll just go through this quickly. So I showed you earlier that there is a lender list that has all the lists of potential libraries that might lend you an item. And just to kind of decipher like what the heck is going on in that list, it's broken down by the library code, the days to respond, the call number, and the system number, which is usually the 001 from the mark, like the bib ID. And the part that you might find interesting is that each library has 4 days to respond. So in this lender list, it'll go to the BPL South End branch for 4 days. And if they don't respond within those 4 days, it'll then go to UMass Dartmouth. And then if UMass Dartmouth doesn't respond in 4 days, it goes to Mass Bay. So that's what that 4 means. In turn, Berklee has 4 days to respond if you guys get lending requests. And there is an internal calendar in ComCat where we can tell it to exclude days that you're closed so that it's not counted against you, essentially. So we'll set that up for you.
If one was to periodically let those 4-day periods lapse without responding, would there be any penalization or
No.
notification? No, I didn't think so. Okay.
The only case where that might be like kind of frowned upon is if you're the only library that owns an item, but in most cases there's going to be someone else that owns it. So, and even if you are the only library, like no one's going to get that mad at you unless you do it like all the time. So, and also people can resubmit requests. There's actually a chance that a request will automatically resubmit itself if it fails. It depends. I'll explain that later. Okay, so I mentioned this a little earlier, but if you have an open request, you should be able to see your trading partner's contact information. Usually they have the ILL email in there and the phone number. We have this set up for Berklee as well. So if I go over to the participant record and go to your contact information, we can see that Reg's info is in here and a phone number. So this is the information that any library that you lend to or borrow from will see.
That phone number is wrong.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. So if you want to just send me the correct one, I can just plug it in.
2478.
I don't know why my phone number keeps popping up. 2478, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Easy fix. And then if you don't have an open request, there is also search library information over here where you can pull up a library if you know their code. Let me try like you have to know their code, which is kind of unfortunate. Yeah. So if you type in the library, you can also get their contact information that way. But usually, you'll be contacting someone if you have an open request anyway. Okay. Oops, nope. All right. Another nifty thing, I guess, is at the bottom of each request, you have the history of that request, and you can kind of just see which libraries have interacted with the request and who at the library has interacted with it. Like it'll tell you if it's a patron action or a staff action and when that action happened, and when status updates happened. This is probably the most useful when you have an error. So if you have an error, it's going to show up in your request history. Hopefully you don't get too many errors, but if you get stumped by one, you can, that's when you're going to submit a ticket to us. But I'll just show you the history of, which one is ours? I don't even know. I think this is the request we just did. So you can see that staff created the request, and then Bristol shipped it, and Berklee received it, Berklee returned it, and then Bristol marked it check-in. And you can see the exact date and time when all those things happened, which can be handy. You can also see at the bottom here the record that a request was created from, which can be useful if you need to refer to the record for like specific edition information, usually. And that's usually going to be some sort of bib ID. It doesn't really look like it is in this case, but usually this is going to be a searchable ID. Okay, policies. I've already talked about this a little bit, but patrons are allowed a maximum of 10 active requests, and the requests that count as active are listed here. Like if they're in this request, they're active, essentially. Of course, if it's a returned request or a completed request or a canceled request, then it's not active and you don't need to worry about it counting towards that maximum. Most patrons don't reach this maximum, but you do have some power users every now and then that will, and you'll just want to make sure that you are clearing out their requests. So like if you have a bunch that are stuck in the retry status, which means it couldn't find any lenders, you might just want to delete those. And this part of the slide is showing you how to do that. It's just a drop-down option. Um, the loan period for libraries is going to be 56 days, and then for your patrons, it's going to be 28. We already went over that. Yeah, so this is the lost item policy. It's kind of a standard policy that most ILL situations use. And basically, there's going to be no collection of fines from a library to a patron that is not theirs. You're only going to be collecting fines from your own patrons. And then the lost items are the borrowing library is going to be responsible for reimbursing the lending library. I tend to get kind of confused about all this, to be honest, but it's all, if you need this information, it's all going to be under the policies page. And if you just search for like lost, you have like all the information about what to do if an item is lost in here. There's no sort of like money handling within ComCat that's going to be handled within your system. And there is also a claim form for Optima that you might already know about. That is going to be something you'll use if, say, like you lent an item and it got lost before it even reached the borrower. Like that's not your fault. So you can submit a claim to Optima, and they might resolve things with your item. They might basically refund you. Um, okay. Okay. So I mentioned the retry status briefly. There are kind of two this request has failed statuses, and they are retry and unfilled. Essentially, retry is the status that your request goes into if there are lenders that have the item, but they just can't lend it to you right now. It might be because the items are checked out or damaged or missing even. So essentially what the library is saying is we can't give this to you now, check back later. Anything that goes into retry will automatically resubmit itself. I think it does that after 28 days. Anything that goes into unfilled, however, is basically either there are no lenders whatsoever, because maybe a patron tried to request something that was not requestable, or, a library is closed for a really long time or something like that. This is like worst case scenario because you're kind of dead in the water. Usually, the suggestion is to move on to OCLC at that point. There's probably another chance. So that's the difference between those two. Um, you can, in fact, as the lending library, you can choose to not lend something. So if you get a pending lending request and you say, ooh, we actually don't want to lend this item out, you can mark it will not supply. And then you have all these reasons that you can send to the borrowing library for why you're not supplying it. You don't have to choose a reason. You can just go with the default for less clicks. But if you do want to choose a reason, you can see that some of them have retry next to them and some of them have unfilled. So if you choose a reason that has retry next to it, you're saying like, oh, we can't give it to you now, but maybe later. And if you're choosing something that has unfilled, like if you're saying non-circulating, you're saying, nope, we can't give this to you and we will never be able to give it to you. So that's what's going on in that menu. And some people get tripped up by this. When you're looking at the record in ComCat for an item, like your search result, you'll have this table that shows you lendability as well as availability. Something needs to be both lendable and available for you to be able to request that item. So availability is literally just, is it checked out or not? And then lendability is it in a requestable location or not? I guess, you could also have lost and missing items that would be not available too. So that's the difference between those two. And if something is available but not lendable, you won't be able to request it. That tends to throw off patrons, to be honest, but I don't know how we can reach out to all of them. So, okay. The participant record. So typically only the flow staff can edit the participant record. So if you need us to change anything, you can submit a ticket or just email us. This, as you saw a second ago, is where we have your contact information. It's also the other two important things in there is the holiday list, which is if you are not willing to lend because maybe you are on winter break or something, we can put in the dates of your winter break and ComCat will not send you any lending requests in that period. That's what that's for. And then the notices that I mentioned, you can set up patron notices and staff notices. I'll just show you those real quick. So for patron notices, looks like we have some defaults in here actually, but they go by status. So you choose what status you want to trigger the notice, and then you can just put in whatever text you want, really. I think we just kind of by default. Oh, that says CW Mars. That's not good. Okay, I'll have to get rid of these. I think when they were setting you up, they used CW Mars as a template. But anyway, you can use as many or a few of those as you want. Most libraries tend to use unfilled and overdue tend to be pretty popular, maybe canceled too. Um, and then staff notices, you have borrowing emails as well as lending emails. So obviously the lending emails are for your lending requests and your borrowing emails are for your borrowing requests. You don't have to use these, but if you want, you can be like notified when you get a new request or when something goes into overdue. That's up to you. You can let me know later. Yeah. And that's the end of my slide, which is good because we only have 6 minutes left. Um, so questions, or do you want me to show you anything else?
I'd like to say thank you, Eliana, first of all.
No problem.
We, on our end, have a lot of workflows and policies to hatch out before we're ready to go live, but we have 21 days still, so
Yeah,
we'll,
I will say I was going by March 31st because that's what you guys told me, but
yes, no, that's the
if you feel you
perfect
need more
day.
time or you need less time, you can
Nope,
just tell me.
let's stick to the plan. That
Okay,
sounds, yeah.
sounds good.
Jennifer and Yamil are not in this meeting, but they're both otherwise obligated, but yeah, that's what everyone's anticipating, so we'll stick with that.
Sounds good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much activity you guys get. You never know until you turn things on, really. Okay.
One little anecdotal thing, a few years ago, Brandeis left WorldShare and they contacted us to see if we could set up an individual arrangement of some kind. And I really didn't feel like I was going to be able to do that. So we basically
Yeah.
lost them as a partner. Now I see they're in ComCat, so we'll get them back again.
Oh, sweet.
We'll see who's happier about that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're an interesting library. They only joined ComCat like a year ago, so
Hmm. Yep, and we'll see them again.
maybe they'll be happy to see you. Um, okay. So Kristen asked in the chat if there would be another session like this for Reshare, and the answer is yes. It won't be me because I don't know as much about Reshare. I think Jen will be training you on Reshare. And actually, you'll notice in the Reshare training that Reshare is very similar workflow-wise to ComCat, because essentially they do the same thing. It's just that they serve different purposes, because Reshare is just the flow libraries, whereas ComCat is everybody else. So, but yeah, they both use NSIP to talk to Folio. So, okay, everybody all set? I can send out the recording and the slides and everything else.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Eliana. I'll be in
Thank
touch
you.
about meetings in the future to talk about any policy questions we may have internally.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
and I hope everyone enjoys the later sunset and the nice weather. Okay,
Thank you.
bye everyone.
Thank you, bye.